yeah. Let me know.
Yeah.
no attention.
Yeah, pay no
To the
attention.
clergy and the
Hi, everybody. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Not for long.
Not for long. Yeah, not for long. So we are so thrilled to welcome you here, we the clergy of Congregation Beth Israel. And I'll say a word about our guests in a moment. But first, we're going to say goodbye to Shabbat and have some Havdalah together, which is really fitting, especially after hearing Cantor Kent, our special guest, talk about the Havdalah that's happening in Tel Aviv every Saturday and how people gather at Hostage Square. It's such a meaningful thing. So we'll do a little Havdalah too, so we can keep some of the sweetness of Shabbat with
And
us.
appreciate the beautiful Shabbat that we've had with Cantor Kent so far, and it's continuing into the beginning of this week.
La
המבדיל בין קודש לחול, חטאותינו הוא ימחול, זרענו וכספנו ירבה כחול, והכוכבים בלילה, שבוע טוב, 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 שבוע טוב. A good week, a week of peace, may gladness reign and joy increase. A good week, a week of peace, may gladness reign and joy increase. Shavua
Shavua
tov.
Shavua Tov. It will be a very sweet week with such an amazing introduction into the week throughout the Shabbat weekend. So, for those, I feel like everybody, I was saying to people, everybody here is now a Cantor Evan Kent groupie. We have a lot of returnees. So Cantor Kent was the cantor at Temple Isaiah in Southern California for 25 years, and then made Aliyah with his husband, Rabbi Don Gur, in 2013. He's been on the faculty at Hebrew Union College in Jerusalem. He had his bachelor's from Manhattan School of Music, then he got a smicha ordination from Hebrew Union College in New York, and then he got a master's in Jewish education? Just education. Doctorate. Dr. Kent from Boston University. This show, Shards, which he wrote and composed music for, has been performed all over the world. It is now a book as well, and we are so thrilled to have Cantor Evan Kent here to share it with us now.
Let me tell you a story. Let me sing you a song. Join me on this incredible journey, and I promise it won't take very long. Let me tell you a story. Let me sing you a song. And you'll all meet my great-grandmother, and you're all invited to join along. A story of home and of homeland, a tale of courage and love. And it's all true, well, that's how I remember it, and I really want to share it with you. Let me sing you a story. Let me tell you a song. So let's start at the beginning, the top of the inning, and I promise it won't go very long. Let me tell you a story, let me sing you a song, and that's what this evening is all about. It's all about stories, it's all about songs, and it all takes place in Jerusalem. Jerusalem. Do you remember the first time you actually thought about Jerusalem? I do. I was in the third or fourth grade in the Sunday school at the Sinai Reform Temple of Bayshore, Long Island, on the south shore of Long Island. And our song leader came into our classroom. His name was Louis Dobin. He was the rabbi's son. He was a really tall guy with long, straight hair. He could play guitar amazingly. He actually could play the guitar behind his head. And he said, I want to teach you all a new song about Jerusalem. And he sang, Yerushalayim shel zahav, v'shel nechoshet v'shel or, halo lecho shirayich, ani kinor. If you know it, join with me. Yerushalayim shel zahav, v'shel nechoshet v'shel or, halo lecho shirayich, ani kinor. And I thought, Jerusalem, Jerusalem is like 5,000 miles away from our house here on Long Island. And when I thought of Jerusalem, I thought of old churches with dark stained glass windows filled with smoke and incense. When I thought of Jerusalem, I thought of old rabbis bent over with big black coats and long white beards. When I thought of Jerusalem, there were sand dunes. Sand dunes covered the streets of Jerusalem. And when I thought of Jerusalem, I thought of camels. Camels were walking through the streets of Jerusalem. But here we are in the center of Jerusalem, our apartment at 21 Ahad Ha'am Street. And it's Friday afternoon. And every Friday afternoon, I go for a run around the walls of the old city. But before I do, I set my Shabbat table. The first thing I put out on the table are these silver candlesticks. These were my grandma Alice's, and they traveled with her from Minsk to Antwerp to New York City. And now they're on my Shabbat table. And one of the nice things about Friday evening in Jerusalem is that when you walk through the streets of the city, you can see the candles flickering in almost everyone's apartment. After that, I take out this blue and white tzedakah box. This was my grandma Eva. She lived in Washington Heights, literally in the shadow of the George Washington Bridge. And when we would visit her, she would shake the box and say, "Put some coins in the box for the children in Israel." So now this same box is on my Shabbat table. After that, I take out this Kiddush cup. I became bar mitzvah in Israel many, many, many years ago. And who can imagine that the same Kiddush cup that I got as a gift from my bar mitzvah would now be on my Shabbat table here in Jerusalem. And finally, I take out this challah cover. When I became a Cantor and I moved to Los Angeles and we purchased our first house, my mother made this for me. And now that I have a little bit more time living in Jerusalem, I bake challah almost every Friday. And there's nothing to remind you that Shabbat is coming than the smell of freshly baked challah. I change into my t-shirt, my shorts, and my running shoes. But before I go out the door, my old friend, Shabbat HaMalka, the Sabbath Queen, comes to visit. Evan, darling, Shabbat Shalom, dear. Are you baking challah, dear? Nothing like freshly baked challah to remind us that Shabbat is coming in. Oh, look at this Shabbat table, so beautiful. Your grandmother's candlesticks, the tzedakah box, the Kiddush cup from your bar mitzvah, the challah cover, but darling, I can't put my finger on it, but there's something missing. It'll come to me, it'll come to me. Are you going running like you do every Friday afternoon, dear? I read in Prevention magazine that running might not be very good for your knees, so please be careful out there, darling. I'll see you in about an hour, dear. And with that, Shabbat HaMalka vanishes. I go down the stairs of my building and I'm running and I'm thinking, what could Shabbat HaMalka be talking about? What could be missing from my Shabbat table? I have the candlesticks, the Kiddush cup, the tzedakah box, the challah cover. What could be missing? What is she talking about? And I literally run into my upstairs neighbor. Shabbat Shalom. Going running. It's very obvious from the way I'm dressed. I'm going running. Yeah, I'm going running, Miriam, like I do every Friday afternoon. Do you have any plans this Friday night? No, just dinner with my husband, Barry, or should I say Rabbi Barry. Oh, he's a very famous rabbi. He has his smicha, that's his rabbinic ordination from Yeshiva University. Oh, he's written some very famous books. One book on modern Jewish philosophy, and another book on Jews during the Revolutionary War period. I know. why don't you, when you come back from running, well, why don't you come on upstairs? I'll make some tea and fruit salad. Look, from the shook, mangoes, sweet like sugar. So I'll see you in about an hour, Evan. Evan, by the way, I was reading in Reader's Digest that running might not be very good for your ankles, dear. So please be careful. Darling, see you in about an hour, dear. Everybody in Jerusalem is concerned about my hips, my knees, my ankles, and I continue running, and I'm running towards the old city, and I'm thinking, who am I to sit across the table from this famous Rabbi Barry, this learned Orthodox rabbi who's written so many books and so smart and so religious. And I come to the walls of the old city, and I'm reminded that Jerusalem isn't just a city for rabbis. Jerusalem is a city for rabbis and cantors and poets and attorneys and grocery clerks. And Jerusalem isn't just a city for Jews. It's a city for Jews and Christians and Muslims and those with no faith at all. And Jerusalem isn't just a city for the religious. It's a city for the religious and the not religious, and most of us who are somewhere in between. Jerusalem is a city for all of us. And as I'm having this amazing revelation in front of the walls of the old city, I do that thing when you lose something and you sort of like jump, and I realize that I've lost the keys to the apartment. And if I don't have the keys to the apartment, I can't get back into the apartment to change and then go have tea and fruit salad with Miriam and Rabbi Barry. But then I remember that these are new running shorts, and they have like this secret pocket in the back. And to be honest, I never lose my keys. Why? Because I have a key song that I sing before I go out the door. And it goes like this. Keys, 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 don't forget your keys. Try it with me. Keys, 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 don't forget your keys. That's very good. Let's do it one more time. Keys, 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 don't forget your keys. My grandpa, Ben, had those words written on an index card that he taped to the back of his front door. He gave me the words, I put it to music, and now the whole family sings, keys, 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 don't forget your keys. Now I want to share with you a story about finding something you didn't know you had lost. And to tell you this story, I want to take you to the Park Slope section of Brooklyn where I lived when I was a student at the Hebrew Union College in the Cantorial School. Now, my apartment in Brooklyn was not very large. My apartment in Brooklyn was sort of small. My apartment in Brooklyn was minuscule, but it was well organized. I like the kind of organization where all the papers on my desk are at like right angles to each other. All the books in my library are arranged according to author and subject and title. All the shirts in my closet are organized according to color, pattern, and style. All the socks in my sock drawer are rolled the exact same way. And it's true. If you check the spice drawer in the kitchen, all the spices are labeled and alphabetized. The other thing that I like to do to keep myself organized and routinized is that when I'm learning music, when I'm practicing, when I'm rehearsing, I don't like to be disturbed. So it's the fall of 1984. I'm a first-year student in the School of Sacred Music, the Cantorial School, and I have been asked to be the Chazan Sheni, the second cantor at the Stephen Wise Free Synagogue on West 68th Street for their high holiday services, for the service that meets in the basement of the synagogue, the overflow service for people who aren't even members of the congregation. I couldn't be more excited. And I'm singing, I'm practicing. Avinu Malkeinu, ring, 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 the phone begins to ring. Avinu Malkeinu, ring, 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 ring. Avinu Malkeinu, Chanenu Ve'anenu, ring, ring, ring. Ki Ein Banu Masim, ring, ring. Hello? No, oh, hi, Dad. No, you're not bothering me at all. I'm just learning some music for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Uh-huh, yes, Dad, the high holidays are early this year. Uh-huh. Wait, slow down. You're telling me that your father, my grandfather, who you haven't spoken to in 42 years, is alive and well and living where? Dad, that's less than a mile from where I live here in Brooklyn. No, I very much want to talk to him. Hold on, let me get his number. Uh-huh. No, I'll call him in the morning. It's a little late. Thanks, Dad. So in the middle of my very organized life comes this moment of complete chaos. I have a grandfather that I didn't even know existed. So I called my father back for a little clarification. Dad, tell me what happened. It seemed that when my father was an infant, my grandfather, his father, became unemployed. And he started hanging out with a group of guys who were communists or socialists. And my grandmother's family didn't think that was such a good idea and forced them to get divorced. So now, at the age of 24, I have a grandfather that I didn't even know existed. So what do you say to your grandfather the first time you're going to meet him? Something like, hello, hi, this is Evan, your grandson. Tell me something about yourself. Or, hello, hi, this is Evan, your grandson. You've missed every significant event in my entire life. But the call actually went like this. Hello, is this Ben? Ben Cates? Hi, this is Evan. Evan, your grandson. Oh, you've been waiting for my call. Oh, no, I definitely do want to meet, yes. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. My grandfather told me that many years ago he had remarried. His wife's name was Ray, and she wasn't feeling well. They were going to the hospital that afternoon. No, I know exactly where that is. No, I know I'll meet you there tomorrow. Yes, looking forward to it. Can I tell you the other thing that I really don't like? I don't like hospitals. I don't like hospitals. They're always like a little overheated. A hospital is always painted that sort of that pale yellow or blue color. I don't like that hospitals are filled with sick people. I don't like that hospitals are covered in germs and bacteria. So here's a tip. When you're walking through the halls of the hospital, don't ever touch the doorknobs or the elevator buttons. They're filled with germs. So I walk through the hospital, and I come to my grandfather's room. My grandfather is seated next to the bed. He has hair brushed back over his head. He's wearing a white button-down short-sleeve shirt. He has on gray pleated pants. His reading glasses on the edge of his nose. He's reading the New York Post. Ray is sleeping. She has short gray hair, and she's wearing a white nightgown with little blue bows and white mother-of-pearl buttons. I quietly enter the room. Ben Cates, I'm Evan, your grandson. Oh, my grandson. I'd recognize you anywhere. Look, we have the same eyes. And my grandfather pulls me in front of a full-length mirror in the hospital room, and indeed, we do have the same close-set hazel eyes with one eyelid a little droopier than the other. We sit talking to each other. I tell him a little bit about my life. He tells me about his life. And then Dr. Melvin Schwartz comes in. How do I know that it's Dr. Melvin Schwartz? Because in very large red letters on his lab coat, it says, Melvin Schwartz, MD. Ray, did we sleep well last night? That's the other thing I hate about hospitals. They always talk to you in the first person plural. Did we sleep well last night? Ray, did you do a number 1 or a number 2 this morning? Dr. Schwartz, it's my grandfather. Dr. Schwartz, I want you to meet my grandson that has a nice sound to it. He's studying to be a chazan, to be a cantor. He sings beautifully. My grandfather had never heard me sing. Dr. Schwartz and my grandfather go out into the hallway to talk, and I sit across from Ray, and she looks at me, and I look at her. She looks at me, I look at her, and she looks at me, I look at her. So, you're Evan. We've heard a lot about you. And I think, you're Ray. Up until 36 hours ago, I didn't know you existed. Can you do me a favor? Can you help move up this pillow a little bit? No, I'm not very good at that sort of thing. There's no way in hell I'm touching that pillow. It's filled with bacteria. Never mind, I'll do it myself. You know, I wasn't always this sick. When I first met your grandfather, we used to love to go dancing. His brother played violin in Frank Sinatra's orchestra, and we'd follow them all around town, but then it got too much to dance, and then it hurt too much to walk, and then I could hardly get out of bed. But we found relief once. We found relief. We went to see a doctor, a real doctor in London, England, and he would put his hands on me, and little by little I felt better. I could get out of bed. I could walk to the end of the hall. I could even dance a little. And before we came back to New York City, this very kind doctor sat on the edge of my bed and held my hand in his, and he said, Ray, dear, what are you afraid of, dear? Well, doctor, I'm afraid I'm not going to dance. I'm afraid I'm not going to walk. Doctor, I'm afraid I'm going to die. And then he held my hand even tighter and he said, Ray, dear, the most important part of healing is to never be afraid. And then Ray sat up in bed and reached her small hands towards me and said, So Evan, what are you afraid of? And before I could answer, my grandfather comes into the hospital room and says, Good news, Ray, good news. Dr. Melvin Schwartz says, you can go home. We're going to rent a hospital bed. We can rent a hospital bed from the hospital supply store and put it in the living room, and you can recover at home. But I can't find the car keys. Keys. Don't forget your keys. And I'm afraid if I don't have the keys, I can't get to the hospital supply store. And Ray at that moment sat up in the bed and reached over to the nightstand, and she said, Ben, dear, here, darling, here are your keys, dear. There's nothing to be afraid of. My grandfather left the room, and I took Ray's hands in mine, and I said, a moment ago, you asked me what I was afraid of? Well, right now, I'm hardly afraid of anything. There's nothing that I am afraid of. There's nothing that I am afraid of. There's nothing that I am afraid of. Yet there are so many things I fear. There's nothing that I am afraid of. There's nothing that I am afraid of. There's nothing that I am afraid of. Yet there are so many things I fear. Will I always be this chubby? There's monsters under the bed. There's something different about me. It's a feeling that I dread. Will I eat alone at lunchtime? Will I get beat up again in PE? Will I get an A in algebra? Where's the Evan I'm trying to be? There's nothing that I am afraid of. There's nothing that I am afraid of. There's nothing that I'm afraid of. Yet there are so many things I fear. Where should I go to college? Does Juilliard want me? Is music school a waste of time? Where's the Evan I'm trying to be? Microbes still on the doorknobs in Brooklyn on my own. Coming out to my parents, will I spend my life alone? There's nothing that I am afraid of. There's nothing that I am afraid of. There's nothing that I'm afraid of, yet there are so many things I fear. That boyfriend who became my husband, we've made it 30 years. And at 60 I'm still asking, am I the sum of all my fears? There's nothing that I'm afraid of. There's nothing that I'm afraid of. There's nothing that I'm afraid of. Yet there are so many things, so many things, so many things I fear. You know, I told Ray I wasn't afraid of anything, but that's actually not true. I'm afraid of a lot of things. And especially moving to Israel, I was afraid that I would never learn the Hebrew language. And if you don't learn the language, if you don't learn Hebrew, you can't become part of society. You really can't become part of the culture. So to counteract that fear, I go to intensive Hebrew instruction. We call it Olpan. 5 hours a day, 5 days a week, and each course level is 5 months long. We learn to read, to write, to speak, to listen to the radio, to watch TV, even work on a computer. Right now, we're learning the future tense. Eshmor, Tishmor, Tishmori, Yishmor, Tishmor. Echtov, Tichtov, Tichtavi, Yichtov, Tichtov. And then the teacher says something, and I don't understand her. She's speaking very quickly, and she's using a high level of vocabulary. And you know what it sounds like? It sounds like, do you remember the teacher on the Charlie Brown cartoons? So all I hear now is, mwah, 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 mwah. And she can see from the look on my face that I don't understand her. So what do people do when they're speaking a foreign language and you don't understand them? They speak louder and they speak slower. So now all I hear is mwah, 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 mwah. And before I can say anything, Mohammed, he's the guy who sits next to me, he says, you want me to tell you about my family? My family has lived in Jerusalem for 800 years. We own the olive groves at the entrance to the city. And my mother is the head of thoracic surgery at Hadassah Hospital. And then on the other side of me is Sergei, and he says, you want me to tell you about my family? My family came here to escape Soviet persecution. And my father, who came from almost nothing, is the head engineer at the Intel plant here in Jerusalem. And before I can say anything, the teacher says, it's time for our morning hafsakah. That's our morning break. And to be honest, it's my favorite time of the entire day. I run down the stairs, go across the street to the falafel stand, and for about 20 shekels, get a pita filled with falafel and hummus and tahina and salad and chips. Those are French fries, and some hot sauce on top. I take it down in about three bites, finish it off with a Diet Coke, run back up the stairs, and now in some sort of fog induced by fat and carbohydrates. I say, you want me to tell you about my family? Well, we just moved here from Los Angeles about 5 years ago. But my family's story really begins with my grandma Alice, who was an immigrant from Russia to the United States. Psst, psst. Tell them how I traveled all by myself with my mother and my sister Hannah. Shh, everybody can hear you. Oh, please, nobody can hear me, and if you don't tell my story, I'll tell my story. My grandmother, Alice. Oh, hello. It's so nice to see you all here tonight. Would you like a candy? Here, I think this is lemon. No, this is a toothbrush. Oh, you'd like this. This is mint. That's good for you. It's kosher. You don't have to worry. It's true. It's true. When I was a little girl growing up in Russia, it was a very dangerous time. You know, people call us immigrants, but we weren't immigrants. We were refugees. And the difference, immigrants have a plan. As refugees, we had no plan. It was such a dangerous time for us. Pogroms, people getting beaten, people getting killed. It was so scary that on Friday night, my mother would take out our silver candlesticks, our most precious possession, and she would put them on the dining room table. And then she would close the curtains in the house. And then she would say the brachas, but she wouldn't put any candles in them. So maybe nobody wouldn't know that we were Jewish. My fathers and my brothers went to America first. They worked as tailors on the Lower East Side, believe you me, sewing ladies' coats and jackets. And once a month, my father would send back a little bit of cash money that my mother kept in a little tin box on top of the stove. And one day my mother says to me, "Okay, girls, okay, it's time to go. It's time to go to America." And I had next to nothing. I had a purse, I had a little suitcase, and I had my favorite feather pillow. And I remember sitting on the train as if it were yesterday. I'm crying, my sister Hannah's crying, my mother's crying. And I look out the window of the train, and I realize I'm never going to see this town again. I'm never going to see our house again. And I'm never going to see my friends again. And as the train pulls out of the station, believe you me, my mother leans forward and she says, "Whatever you do, don't let go of the pillowcase." So I hold the pillow even tighter. And then at the bottom, I feel something hard, and I look inside, and there they are, the candlesticks, the silver candlesticks, our most precious possession. We traveled by train to Antwerp for about 3 days. It was the biggest building I'd ever seen in my life, the train station. Big stained glass windows and trains and so many people. And then we made our way to the Red Star Line. And they checked my papers, and they checked my luggage, and they checked my eyes, and they checked my mouth. And then all the rich people, they went upstairs, and we went down to the bottom of the boat. Oh, I saw that like in the movie Titanic, where all the rich people are upstairs, but down below are all the poor people, and they're sharing food and singing and dancing and playing musical instruments. No. It was nothing you might have seen in a movie called Titanic. It was dark, it was dangerous, and I never let go of Hannah, and I never let go of the pillowcase. We sailed for about 7 days. And what they say about the lights of New York City is true. When we came into New York Harbor, it's like a million stars. And I realized it's Shabbos. The men are down below doing their prayers. So I grabbed Chana, and I grabbed the candlesticks, and I went to a bench. I went to the top deck and found a bench and put the candles, just like my mother did. And I sang the blessings. And as I'm saying the blessings, I come by the Statue of Liberty. Have you ever seen the Statue of Liberty? I had seen pictures, but do you know she's green? And I'm looking at her, and I'm wondering who are her parents? Because it's a little chilly out here. I'm wearing a coat and a hat and some boots, and she's standing there in the middle of New York Harbor wearing this green schmata and sandals on her feet, and she's holding this book and this torch. And as I'm saying the blessings, I hear, psst, psst, little girl, give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. I can see you're tired, I can see you're poor, and I can see you're a huddled mass. But oh, my dear, my darling, you don't have to be afraid to light your candles here. This is America, the land of religious freedom, the land of opportunity. And you know what happens next, believe you me? That Statue of Liberty, out of that big crown of hers, she takes 2 candles, she puts them in the candlesticks, and then with that giant torch of hers, she lights my candles. And that was my first Shabbos in America. But you tell me, why did you come here? Why did you come here to Jerusalem, to the middle of the desert? He had a job, they had a car, they had a house with a pool. Do you know everybody in Los Angeles has a house with a pool, but they never go in the pool? Why did you come here? Grandma Alice, there's so many reasons, but maybe the best reason is the last lines of the Israeli national anthem that says, Hatikva, that says, Lihiot am chofshi be'atzenu, to be a free people in our own land. Okay, that's very nice to know, but how did you get here? How did we get to Israel? Don, my husband, and I, and Merlin, our cat, what's wrong with you? You brought a cat to Jerusalem? We took a non-stop flight from Los Angeles to Tel Aviv. But before I took that flight that would take us all the way to Israel, I went to New York to visit my family and friends, say goodbye, and do some things I hadn't done in a very long time. I went to the Museum of Natural History. There's a brand new dinosaur exhibit. I went to the top of the Empire State Building. I hadn't been there since junior high. I went to the 9/11 Memorial. And I thought, I haven't been over to Liberty Island, to the Statue of Liberty, since I'm a child. So I'm online to buy my ticket, and I hear, psst, psst, Evan, oh, she talks to you too, it must be genetic. Psst, psst, Evan, tourist tip. You've already been over to Liberty Island. Take the Staten Island ferry. It's free. And the view is the same. And with the money that you save, buy yourself a sandwich, a Diet Coke, maybe the New York Times, and with the change that's left over, put in a little blue and white box for the children in Israel. So that's what I did. I got my seat on the Staten Island ferry. I'm having a Diet Coke, and Grandma, it's a beautiful Friday afternoon in New York Harbor. There's a sailboat race. There's a regatta going through the harbor. And there's a tugboat pulling in a big freighter. And Grandma, there's a cruise ship, a big cruise ship coming into New York Harbor. And Grandma, on the top deck of this cruise ship are 2 little girls. And they're waving to everybody on shore. and everybody on shore is waving back to them. And just as this cruise ship comes right by the Statue of Liberty, the Statue of Liberty leans over to these two little girls and says, Shabbat Shalom, welcome to America. My grandmother came to America, sailed through the harbor of hopes and of dreams. Back in the old days when the streets were paved with gold and the sky laced with moonbeams, mothers and fathers, daughters and sons, here in the free world we're the lucky ones. All of my yearning, all of my hunger, maybe we're learning. Sometimes I wonder, good night, New York. Before the Kennedys, before the Beatles, before the Vietnam War, back in the old days when anything was possible, having less meant knowing more. Brothers and sisters, uncles and aunts, here in the free world for a second chance. All of my yearning, all of my hunger, maybe we're learning. Sometimes I wonder, good night, New York. My grandmother came to America, sailed through the harbor of hopes and of dreams. And here in her future, I hope I've not failed her, 'cause nothing's the way that it seems. Mothers and fathers, daughters and sons, here in the free world, we're the lucky ones. All of my yearning, all of my hunger, maybe we're learning. Sometimes I wonder, good night, New York. You've met my grandma Alice, you met my grandpa Ben. Now I want you to meet my great-grandmother, my mother's grandmother, Grandma Eva. Grandma Eva lived in a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment, literally in the shadow of the George Washington Bridge up in Washington Heights. And at one point in my family's history, 3 generations lived in this 2-bedroom apartment. My great-grandmother and grandfather slept in 1 bedroom. My grandmother and grandfather slept in the other bedroom. My mother, she slept on a pull-out couch in the living room. And my Uncle George slept on a daybed in the dining room. Grandma Eva was a small, bird-like woman who seemed to be in a good mood, who always had a great sense of humor. And I thought that must have been difficult because she had suffered terribly during her life. She had buried her husband, she had buried her son, and she had buried her daughter-in-law. And in spite of all of this, she always seemed to be in a good mood. One of the best parts about visiting Grandma Eva is that I got to press the elevator button that would take us to the top floor. The elevator door would open, and there would be Grandma Eva. She always was wearing something that she called a house coat. It was like a floral smock. And her stockings were always rolled right down below her knees. And on her feet were these black orthopedic shoes that had a big cutout for the big toe that women of a certain age and generation always seemed to wear. She'd be standing in the doorway and she'd be shaking the blue and white box and she'd say, "Can you smell? Can you smell? I made your favorite apple cake, but none for you, little mister, until you put some coins in the box for the children in Israel." We put coins in the box. The blue and white box sat on a telephone table, a mahogany telephone table in Grandma Eva's hallway. And on top of that, on the hallway, on the wall, there was a ceramic plate that said, "L'shana haba'ah b'Yerushalayim," next year in Jerusalem. And it had pictures of the walls of Jerusalem and the Montefiore windmill and the Dome of the Rock. And I always wondered, well, when was next year in Jerusalem? Was next year in Jerusalem like next year when I would be like five years old? Or was next year in Jerusalem when I'd be like really old, like 17 or 18 years old? Or was next year in Jerusalem when I would be Grandma Eva's age? And if I went to Jerusalem, could I take her with us? We'd be sitting eating her delicious apple cake, and she'd come out, she'd say, "Okay, I'm ready to go. I have my valises." She didn't call them suitcases. She called them valises. You see, as Grandma Eva got older, she would spend a couple of months with us at our house on the south shore of Long Island. And the best part about Grandma Eva staying with us is that she slept on a pull-out bed in our TV room. And early in the morning, I'd be wearing my Fred Flintstone feety pajamas, and I'd crawl in under the bed, under the covers with her. And first we'd watch the news. Oh, this is so boring. It's important to know what's going on in the world. But even better than that, on Saturday night, my parents would go out with friends, and Grandma Eva would babysit for us. We'd be sitting on the couch. I'd be wearing my Fred Flintstone feety pajamas with a big bowl of Ruffles potato chips on my lap. And first we'd watch the news. Oh, this is so boring. I know. It's important to know what's going on in the world. But then it would start. First the music. Bum, 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 bum. Grandma Eva, come. Bum, 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 bum. Grandma Eva, come, it's starting. Bum, 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 bum. And then the announcer would say, "And live from Hollywood, it's the Lawrence Welk Show." And the curtain would go up, and there would be violins playing and saxophones playing, and there would be bubbles on the stage, and Mr. Welk would come out in a tuxedo and his baton, and he'd say, "Wonderful, wonderful. It's so good to see you all on this Veterans Day weekend when we honor our men and women in the armed forces. And first up are the Lennon sisters." Oh, Grandma Eva, the Lennon sisters, they're my favorite. The one with the short blonde hair, her name is Peggy. Isn't she beautiful? And first up are the Lennon sisters singing a World War II favorite. And the Lennon sisters came out with matching red, white, and blue outfits with big blue belt and red hats, and they all had the exact same smile. And they sang, "Don't sit under the apple tree with anyone else but me. Anyone else but me. Anyone else but me." And they turned at the exact same time. "I don't sit under the apple tree with anyone else but me till I go marching home." And Grandma Eva would say, "Let's dance," and I would stand her on her feet, and we'd go, "Don't sit under the apple tree with anyone else but me." We'd go around, "Anyone else but me." I go backwards, "Anyone else but me." One more time, "Don't sit under the apple tree, woo, with anyone else but me, woo, till I come marching home." And we'd laugh, and I'd fall on the couch laughing, and I'd fall asleep on Grandma Eva's shoulder. And my dad would come home, my mom and dad would come home, and my father would pick me up and take me to bed. A few weeks after we watched the Lawrence Welk show, Grandma Eva went back to her apartment in Washington Heights. And after every visit, Grandma Eva would send me a little gift, a little toy or something to remember her visits by. This time she sent me a booklet that had all the words to all the songs that all the boys and girls on the Lawrence Welk show had sung. I kept all of these little gifts in a box in the top drawer of my clothing dresser. I called it my memory box. So whenever I wanted to remember Grandma Eva, I would open the dresser drawer and open the box. A few weeks later, I was in our TV room. I was playing with some Lincoln Logs and Tinker Toys, and my mom got a phone call. Hello, hi, yes, this is she. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. No, we'll make all the arrangements. Thank you so much for calling. My mother called down to me in the TV room. Evan, dear, that was about Grandma Eva. She died last night in her sleep. Now, I was 5 years old. I had never known anybody who had died. I went back to my bedroom. I closed the door. I opened the dresser drawer. I opened the memory box and tried to remember what it was like dancing with Grandma Eva. A few weeks after the funeral, my mother and my Uncle George cleaned out Grandma Eva's apartment. And my mother came back to our house with a box of pictures and photograph albums and some knickknacks. And my mom said, I think Grandma Eva would want you to have this. It was the ceramic plate, the one that said, Lishana Haba'at Yerushalayim. I held the plate so tightly, went back to my bedroom and closed the door. And I sang, don't sit under the apple tree with anyone else but me till I come marching home. I'm standing on grandmother's shoes. I'm standing on grandmother's shoes. Teach me to dance, teach me to fly, teach me to spin with my arms in the sky. Here it is safe, here it is calm, when I'm standing on grandmother's shoes. I'm dancing on grandmother's shoes. I'm dancing on grandmother's shoes. I look in your eyes, we dance round the floor, such love and such wisdom, we circle once more. You sing me the songs, you tell me the tales, as I'm dancing on grandmother's shoes. I'm dreaming of grandmother's shoes. I'm dreaming of grandmother's shoes. I long for your arms to hold me so dear. You taught me to dance, a rare souvenir. And now I dance, though you're no longer here. I'm dreaming of grandmother's shoes. I'm dancing on grandmother's, still dancing on grandmother's always dancing on grandmother's shoes. Wow, that was such a beautiful song and such a sentimental story. And oh my goodness, look how many people are here on this Friday night here at Temple Isaiah. Well, won't you please join me and the rabbis as we warm up our hearts and our souls with some Shabbat singing. Me, 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 me. Maya Hayom. I'm moving to Israel. Shabbat Shalom. They call it making Aliyah. Maya Hayom. Did you know that Israel is 7,000 miles away from Los Angeles? Shabbat Shalom. What am I thinking? Shabbat Shalom. I hear they have a search committee in place to find my successor. Shabbat Shalom. I'm quickly becoming irrelevant. Shabbat Shalom. Do you think anybody here in Los Angeles will remember me? Shabbat Shalom. Excuse me, but who are you? Who am I? I'm the part of you that's the Cantor. I'm the part of you that likes to sing on Friday nights, touch Shabbat with those cute little 3- and 4-year-olds, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. I'm the part of you that likes to be the center of attention. And anything you say, well, I say. And anything you're thinking, well, I'm thinking. And right now, I'm thinking that you're thinking that this whole Aliyah thing might be one big mistake. Right? Right? Right. And that's the truth. As we got closer and closer to taking that nonstop flight from Los Angeles to Tel Aviv, I kept wondering, when I go to Israel, who will I be? What will I become? Will anyone remember me? I asked my friends, when I move to Jerusalem, who will I be? What will I become? Will anyone remember me? I asked my colleagues, other rabbis and cantors, when I make Aliyah, who will I be? What will I become? Will anyone remember me? And I asked my family, when I move to Israel, who will I be? What will I become? Will anyone remember me? I'll remember you, because the day you adopted me, we became family. Merlin, our cat. Do you know Merlin had more paperwork to make Aliyah than Don or I did combined? Do you remember what you told me the day you adopted me? I do, Merlin, I do. Well, tell them. I remember I put you in the carrier in the car, and I said to you, Merlin, in a few years, we're going to be moving to Israel. And if that's okay with you, I want you to give me some sort of sign. And do you remember what I did? I do. Well, tell them. I remember I put you in the carrier, and then you put your paws over your eyes, like that, yes, just like that. and then you let out a big yawn. Like that? Yes, just like that. And then, do you remember what I told you? Do you remember what I told you? I do. Well, tell them. I remember you told me that moving to Israel, I wasn't losing anything. I was getting something. I was getting the blessing of those candlesticks. I was getting the hopes of that Kiddush cup. I was getting the dreams of that challah cover. And that's the truth. It was Merlin, our cat, now of blessed memory, who convinced me that moving to Israel was going to be okay. And I remember sitting on that jumbo jet, that one-way, nonstop flight from Los Angeles to Tel Aviv. Don, my husband, the center of my life, sitting next to me, sleeping. Merlin, my cat, sitting on my lap, sleeping. I watched a couple of TV shows, watched a movie, had a glass of red wine, took an Ambien, and as I fell asleep, I remember thinking, it really doesn't get much better than this. I want to lick your stamps. I want to squeeze your fruit. I want to copy your keys. I want to polish your skis. I want to dry clean your suit. I long to renew your passport. I want to walk your collie, get your Nova Scotia salmon you can put on your Bialy. 'Cause baby, when it comes to you, there's nothing I wouldn't do. I wouldn't do. I want to wash your car. I want to scramble your eggs. Your salad I will toss. Of course I'll help you floss. Rub Tiger Balm on your legs. Oh baby, 'cause in your love I am enveloped. Gonna mosey down to Photomat and get your film developed. 'Cause baby, when it comes to you, there's nothing I wouldn't do. Whoa, 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 everyone does that old love letter, some tumble over mountain and sea. But does that make my love one more iota than making sure your soda's caffeine-free? I want to fold your socks. I'll organize your closet. And baby sweet, if you like, I'll buy blue bags and recycle all your bottles for deposit. I want to do all your taxes. I'll make a quesadilla. I'll rent a van for two and then I'll drive you to IKEA. 'Cause baby, when it comes to you, there's nothing I wouldn't do. Whoa, 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 everyone does that old diamond ring thing. What's more passé than a rose? What could set my heart ablaze more than going to Rite Aid and buy aloe vera Kleenex for your nose? I want to woolite your fine washables. I want to roll your quarters. My dear, whatever you crave now, you know I'm your slave. Now I'm just waiting for my orders. I want to go with you to yoga. I'll buy some shorts for biking. I'll break up every bunch so each banana's to your liking. 'Cause baby, when it comes to you, to show you that my love is true, baby, when it comes to you, there's nothing I wouldn't do. Me, do 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 me, do, do. I come back from running. I change out of my t-shirt, my running shorts, and my shoes. I think, oh no, I have to go upstairs and have tea and fruit salad with Miriam and Rabbi Barry, and I know what this is going to be like. Oh, I don't even know what this week's Torah portion is. I read the Torah portion, I read some commentary, pull myself together, and I am going to walk into this apartment, and there's going to be like these big, dark wood bookcases filled with Talmud and Mishnah and all these books, and then there's going to be Rabbi Barry sitting at the end of this long dining room table, and he's going to have on a black suit and a black hat and thick black glasses and a black tie and a long white beard that goes like to the middle of his chest, like all the men in this neighborhood. And I pull myself together. I go up the couple flights of stairs, knock on the door. Oh, Shabbat Shalom, it's so good to see you. Come on in. And I walk into the apartment. There's no big bookcases. There's like piles of papers all over the place. And then there's Rabbi Barry. He's clean shaven. He has a small yarmulke on his head. He has round wire-rimmed glasses. Rabbi Barry is wearing gray sweatpants. And he has on a gray sweatshirt that says, "Let's go Mets." On his feet, Rabbi Barry is wearing those tennis shoes with the Velcro closures. Rabbi Barry is seated in a wheelchair. I go to shake his hand. Oh, he can't shake your hand. He can barely take care of himself. But it wasn't like this when we made Aliyah 30 years ago from Baltimore. Barry was always talking and writing and talking to groups and lecturing and teaching. That's the book he wrote on modern Jewish philosophy. Here's the one he wrote on Jews during the Revolutionary War period. But then he got sick, and the friends from the shul, they helped out a little bit, but how much can your friends do? We had a girl come in for a while, and the kids, they all moved out of Jerusalem. It's expensive. It's expensive to live here. But look, this is our grandson. That's our grandson. He's studying to be a rabbi, just like his grandfather. Also at Yeshiva University. Here, pull up a chair. Oh, Barry, this is Evan. He lives downstairs. Dear. Oh, look, I made fruit salad, darling. Let's have a bite. With mangoes, the first of the season, sweet like sugar. Here, let's have let's say the blessing, dear. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pri ha'etz. Let's say the Shehechianu. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shechianu v'kimanu v'gianu lazman hazeh. Blessed are you, O Lord our God, ruler of the universe, who gives us life, who sustains us, and enables us to reach this day. Here, Barry, take a bite, dear. Take a bite. Oh, cookies. I baked some cookies. I'll be back in a second. I sit across from Rabbi Barry, and he looks at me, and I look at him, and he looks at me, and I look at him, he looks at me. So, Rabbi Barry, I'm Evan. I live downstairs. We made Aliyah from Los Angeles 5 years ago, and you made Aliyah from Baltimore 30 years ago. In Baltimore, you were an Orthodox rabbi, and in LA, I was a cantor in a Reformed synagogue. But here we are, Rabbi Barry, here we are, in the same building, here in Jerusalem. Jerusalem of our hopes, Jerusalem of our dreams, Jerusalem of our desires, Jerusalem of our disappointments. And we're here together, Rabbi Barry, and it's all like swirling around us, isn't it, Rabbi Barry? Isn't it? Oh, he loves when we have company. It's so nice that you come and talk to him. You should come more frequently. You're so close by. Well, good Shabbos. We'll see you again. I take Rabbi Barry's hand in mine. Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi Barry. Good Shabbos. And on the way down to my own apartment, where everything right now seems so wonderful, almost perfect, I'm reminded that nothing in Jerusalem is ever what you think it is. I take out my keys and I open the door, and I realize the furniture is the same, the pictures are the same, but I realize that we've moved. We've moved from Jerusalem to Tel Aviv. And seated at the dining room table is my old friend, Shabbat HaMalka. Shabbat HaMalka, you found me here in Tel Aviv. Evan, dear, I found you on Long Island, I found you in Manhattan, I found you in Brooklyn, I found you in Los Angeles, I found you in Jerusalem, I found you here in Tel Aviv, dear. But Evan, dear, Evan, please explain to me, after so many years of living in Jerusalem, dear, why did you move to Tel Aviv? You know, when they first made Aliyah, I told them, I said, don't go to Jerusalem, you belong in Tel Aviv, but you never listen, you're so stubborn. Why did you move? Oh, Shabbat HaMalka, there are so many reasons, but maybe it's like what the Israeli poet Yehuda Amichai says. He says the air over Jerusalem is filled with dreams and prayers. And like the air over industrial cities, it's difficult to breathe. Well, dear, I hope you're breathing easier now. But Evan, it's occurred to me what's missing from the Shabbat table. You have the candlesticks, the Kiddush cup, the tzedakah box, the challah cover, but darling, where's the ceramic plate? Where's Grandma Eva's ceramic plate? The one that said, L'shana haba'ah Berushalayim, dear. We had the plate on the wall in Los Angeles, and then we had a big earthquake, and the plate fell and broke into like 1,000 pieces. But what did you do with the pieces, dear? You wouldn't have thrown them out. You know what's strange, Shabbat HaMalka, is that when we were moving from Jerusalem to Tel Aviv, I found the box with all the pieces. Have you tried to put the pieces together, dear? Have you tried? Oh, Shabbat HaMalka, there's so many pieces. There's this and this. This one goes here, and this one. You know what's strange, Shabbat HaMalka? When I put the plate together now, the finish of the plate is different. It's not a ceramic finish, but it's become like a mirrored finish. A mirrored finish, dear. How curious is that? When you look in the mirror, Evan, what do you see? Well, I see you. I see me. No, dear. No, Evan, dear. Look deeper. Look harder. Well, I see you. I see me, and I see Grandma Alice, Shabbat HaMalka. She's in an apartment in Jerusalem. She's lighting candles. What else do you see, darling? What else do you see? I see Grandpa Ben and Ray. They're holding hands and they're walking along the beach right here in Tel Aviv. I see Grandma Eva Shabbat HaMalka. She's sitting in the big symphony hall right here near us in Tel Aviv, and she's holding a seat for me where she's waiting for a concert to begin. But it's impossible. It's impossible. None of them ever visited Israel. None of them ever came to Jerusalem. None of them ever visited Tel Aviv. Oh, but my dear, my darling, do you think you came here all by yourself? No. They all came here. They all came here with you. Your parents, your grandparents, and your great-grandparents. and they'll all be here with you. Especially when you tell your stories. And especially when you tell your stories all about them. Some people search for romance on a gable Lombard scale, or for money that can buy their richest dreams. But I don't look for seas to cross, mountaintops to climb. I close my eyes at night and wish for time. Let me grow old, let me grow wise, let lines of laughter crease my eyes, let me spin stories as I hold court in my chair. Let me knit yards and yards of yesterdays until the last comes round, and woven in that pattern is the message: I was there. Some people search for knowledge or a framed advanced degree that can trumpet, I'm important, can't you tell? But I don't look for accolades or insight so sublime. I close my eyes at night and wish for time. Let me grow old, let me grow wise, let lines of laughter crease my eyes, let me quilt memories, every one a vibrant square. Each one a friend I've known and cherished, or a love I've won or lost, and embroidered in that blanket is the message: I was there. Before you paint a painting, you need the surface clean. Before you write a book, you need the page. Before you picture dances on the canvas that is life, you must paint the picture with a brush of age. Oh, and some crave admiration, acknowledgement of wit. They revel in the turning of a phrase. And though the poet in me yearns to find that perfect rhyme, I close my eyes at night and wish for time. Let me grow old, let me grow wise, let lines of laughter crease my eyes, let me spin stories as I hold court in my chair. Let me knit yards and yards of yesterdays until the last comes around. I'll take those yards and yards of yesterdays and lay them on the ground. And in some faraway tomorrow, when my cast-off stuff is found, unwind it and you'll find there is the message: I was there. So I've said all my stories, and I've sung all my songs, and together we've journeyed, and I told you it wouldn't take very long. Yes, there'll always be stories, and we'll always have songs, and there'll always be journeys, and you're always invited to join along, still searching for home and for homeland, still hoping for courage and love. And it's mostly all true, well, that's how I remember it, and I'm glad I got to share it with you. So you must share those stories, must sing those songs, and take others on those incredible journeys, a lifetime of memories, and it doesn't take very long. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's really been a joy to be here to share my stories and to be with you as you've shared your stories this weekend. And it really is a blessing for me to share the stories of my family, of our own journeys. And please share your stories with your children, with your grandchildren, because that is really, it is the true blessing of Jewish storytelling, is to share these stories l'dor vador from generation to generation. Thank you so much.
Amen. I want to acknowledge by name the fantastic Tim Ribner.
Amazing.
And thank you, Evan.
Thank you.
And because it's a Jewish event, there's food.